Have you ever been required to do something you didn't want to do? Something that scared you. Something you thought you would fail. Something you desperately wanted to avoid. This is the story of how one subject almost convinced Olufunmilola that she was not capable of succeeding in further mathematics. Ironically, it was the same subject that helped shape her future. After completing the Junior WAEC examination in JSS 3, students at Olufunmilola's school were assigned to senior secondary school classes based on their performance. Students who performed best were placed in SS1A. The next group of students were placed in SS1B. Others were placed in SS1C, SS1D, SS1E, and so on according to their results. Olufunmilola and her twin sister, Olufunmilayo, performed very well and were both placed in SS1A. At first, this seemed like good news. Then they discovered that students in SS1A were required to take further mathematics. And that changed everything. Further mathematics had a frightening reputation. Many students believed it was one of the hardest subjects in the school. Some students were so determined to avoid it that they requested permission from the principal to move to SS1B. One by one, students received approval and changed classes. As Olufunmilola watched her classmates leave, she became increasingly nervous. If everyone was trying to escape further mathematics, perhaps she should too. Eventually, she gathered enough courage and went to the principal's office. She politely requested permission to move to SS1B. The principal listened. Then he gave a very short answer. No. That was it. No explanation. No transfer. Olufunmilola was disappointed. She returned to class and accepted her fate. At the time, she felt the principal was standing in the way of her plans. She had no idea that years later she would thank God for that answer. Unfortunately, her fears seemed justified. Throughout SS1, she struggled in further mathematics. While she did well in regular mathematics, further mathematics felt completely different. Test after test. Failure after failure. It seemed as though everyone had been right. Then something unexpected happened. At the end of SS1, Olufunmilola reviewed her third-term further mathematics examination script. Although she had failed the examination, she noticed that she had earned full marks on one question. Question 4. The question involved vectors. Vectors were also taught in physics, and she understood them very well. As she stared at her paper, a thought entered her mind. If I can score full marks on question 4, maybe I can score full marks on the other questions too. That simple thought changed everything. For the first time, she stopped focusing on what she could not do and focused on what she could do. Looking back, Olufunmilola believes God used that single question to change the way she saw herself. During the long vacation, she decided to give further mathematics one more chance. She opened her textbook, Further Mathematics Project 1, and began studying. Whenever she encountered a difficult concept, she asked questions. One person she turned to was her twin sister, Olufunmilayo, who was exceptionally gifted in mathematics and further mathematics. Slowly, something surprising happened. Olufunmilola began to understand. The subject she had feared for so long was not as impossible as she had imagined. Concept after concept started making sense. The monster she had feared was becoming manageable. By the time she entered SS2, further mathematics was no longer required. Students could choose whether to continue. Many decided not to. But Olufunmilola stayed. The journey was not easy. There were still difficult topics and frustrating moments. But she kept going. Little by little, her results improved. Then came a remarkable moment. In the third term of SS2, Olufunmilola scored 96% in further mathematics. She ranked first in the class. The girl who had once wanted to run away from further mathematics was now leading the class. There was one interesting detail. Her twin sister and 3 top mathematics students were away preparing for the JETS competition and did not take that examination. Even so, the achievement meant a lot. It showed her that she was capable of far more than she had once believed. She continued studying further mathematics through SS3. When it was time for the Senior WAEC examination, only about 50 students out of nearly 300 chose to take further mathematics. Among those 50 students, only 2 were girls. Olufunmilola and her twin sister, Olufunmilayo. The external WAEC supervisor noticed immediately. He commented that it was rare for him to see girls taking further mathematics. At a time when many people believed further mathematics was mainly for boys, 2 sisters sat confidently in the examination hall. When the results were released, Olufunmilola earned an A grade in further mathematics. The subject she once feared had become one of her strengths. But the story did not end there. Years later, Olufunmilola earned a PhD in a mathematical sciences field. At the time this story was first narrated, she was serving as an associate professor of mathematics at a Christian university in the United States, a path she may never have imagined when she first walked into the principal's office asking to escape further mathematics. Looking back, she sometimes wondered what would have happened if the principal had approved her request. What if he had said yes? What if she had escaped further mathematics? Would she have discovered her potential? Would she have followed the same path? Only God knows. Sometimes the opportunities that shape our future arrive disguised as obstacles. Sometimes we pray for one door to open while God keeps it closed because He sees something we cannot yet see. Sometimes God's no protects a future we cannot yet imagine. Olufunmilola learned that fear is not always a reliable guide. The fact that something is difficult does not mean it is impossible. And the fact that everyone else is running away does not mean you should. Years later, she realized that God may have used the principles no to guide her toward her purpose. What lesson do you take from this story? Have you ever been grateful that a request was denied? Have you ever discovered that something you feared became one of your greatest strengths? Has God ever used a closed door to lead you toward something better? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story.